Preserving your family papers, scrapbooks, and photo albums. People have been compiling scrapbooks for hundreds of years to preserve their memories, which may include newspaper clippings, photographs, pamphlets, hair, and even firecrackers or food. You may have discovered your old family documents in a drawer or closet, and you begin to wonder what they contain. Many of the items in your scrapbook were selected to document specific activities or memories of the compiler. The items the compiler has chosen to include provide a unique look at the culture and time in which she lived. These scrapbooks are generally made of poor quality materials and are therefore subject to deterioration over time. Paper can become yellow and brittle. Old Scotch tape has come off, the pages may be torn, and the photographs have become loose. The following presentation is a brief tutorial to help you analyze, preserve, or at least stabilize your documents. You can get supplies and additional information on the sites listed on the last slide. These are some general guidelines for your papers and your photographs. Before you begin sorting your papers or looking at your old scrapbooks or albums, first of all, find a clean place to work so your documents won't become contaminated. Be sure to wash your hands since they can leave oily traces on paper, especially on photographs. Be sure not to use a hand lotion either. Don't eat, drink, or smoke around your original documents. It's easy to tip a drink onto something. Some people recommend using gloves while others feel that they are awkward to use. And if your hands are clean, you can handle the document. Be sure to handle photographs and negatives around the edge and all documents very carefully. Photo albums and scrapbooks are lots of fun to look at, but they can become very difficult to preserve since they often contain three-dimensional objects and other ephemera such as flowers, party favors, and locks of hair. Another problem is old Scotch tape or glue, which has become brittle and ineffective. Old staples and pins may have become rusted, and newspaper clippings have become yellow and fragile. If you can remove these without damaging your scrapbook, you can store some of these objects in a polyethylene Ziploc bag, sewn onto the page or slipped into the page using white cotton thread. Do not use PVC bags. Here are some no-nos when dealing with a scrapbook, especially if you're making your own. We call them inherent vices. So these are the things that you should avoid at all costs. Acidic papers, hot glue, synthetic glue, Scotch tape, rubber cement, rubber bands, pressure-sensitive tape, magnetic albums, non-stainless steel staples and paper clips, unknown plastics, polyvinyl chloride, which is PVC, and self-adhesive plastic tapes. The Iowa Conservation and Preservation Consortium has an excellent site with great tips on creating an archival scrapbook or photo album, and their webpage is on the last page. A big mistake people make is storing their family papers and photographs in a damp and warm place where humidity and insects can damage them. This means storing your family papers off the floor, and don't store them in a damp basement or a hot attic where they can be in danger of being susceptible to water damage or extreme heat. Be sure to keep the temperature no higher than 70 degrees and the relative humidity between 50 and 30%. The most important thing is to keep these levels constant and away from water. Archival boxes will also protect your papers and photographs from the light, which will hasten their deterioration. Sometimes be difficult to diagnose the problems of your scrapbook and what you can do to preserve it. Often, scrapbooks are so filled with ephemera that they bulge and the binding is either loose or becomes detached. If this is your problem, you can disbind the scrapbook, which means removing the actual binding to relieve the tension. You can then tie up the scrapbook like a package with flat cotton tape and store it flat. Rusted pins or staples can be carefully removed. If the paper is especially brittle, you may choose to leave them. New photo corners can be used to replace loose photographs or documents. Loose or fragile pages can be encapsulated in polyethylene sleeves, not PVC, but these can be purchased from an archival supply business. Pages which are dirty can also be encapsulated to protect the other pages. If your scrapbook is irretrievably damaged, you can always disassemble or take apart the entire scrapbook and rehouse what is salvageable in a new archival scrapbook. Be sure to label the ephemera and where it came from. The other possibility with a fragile scrapbook is to scan or photograph each page and produce a surrogate so that the information can be preserved digitally. The original scrapbook can then be tied up and placed in an acid-free box. Family papers are often a collection of photographs and other memorabilia. Carefully lay the documents on a clean table, being careful not to handle them too much. To most effectively organize them, see if you can arrange them in categories such as correspondence, photographs, memorabilia, or any other groups you can think of. Once you have done this, put each group into its own folder, which has been carefully labeled and alphabetized. Be sure to include its contents, dates, and names, and any other information you think is important to help you find the contents later. Acid-free folders can be purchased as well as acid-free boxes. It's important to choose an acid-free box or, at a minimum, a box that is lignin-free. Lignin is a naturally occurring acid that is often present in the wood pulp slurry used to create the paper. The yellowing and brittleness of old papers is due to lignin and other residual acids becoming activated by humidity and temperature in a process that often ends up destroying the paper itself. You can purchase acid-free boxes online at an archival supply business such as Hollinger or Brodart and University Products. This short video is not meant to be inclusive, and the preservation process can sometimes be complicated. Here are some sites which will help you in your preservation efforts and give hints if you are beginning a new scrapbook or photo album. Also included are commercial archival sites where you can order supplies. I hope you found this video useful, and please feel free to contact me at the Suber Archives.